guys, and welcome back to the Crochet Toy YouTube channel. In today's video I'm bringing you another crochet tutorial and this one's another one in the BT21 series. So this is Mang, so here he is. So yeah, as always the written pattern for this is available on my blog for free and I'll have that link down below, so if you want to have that open while you watch this video then feel free. But other than that, let's get into what you'll be needing for this tutorial. For this tutorial you'll be needing aran weight yarn in the following colours: blue, pink, and then a kind of light purplish colour. It's almost a bit beigey. I'm using Stylecraft Special Aran in Mushroom, if that helps, because it's a bit of a weird colour. And then a kind of darker purple as well. Then you'll be needing a 4mm crochet hook, or you might want to size up or size down if you're using a weight of yarn other than aran. Then you'll be needing some scissors, a stitch marker, I just use a scrap piece of yarn, a yarn needle for sewing everything together. You'll be needing some black and white felt, this is for the eyes. You'll be needing a little bit of black embroidery thread, this is for adding the detail to the nose. You'll need some fabric glue for gluing down those felt eyes. You'll need some stuffing, you'll need more than this, but this is just to demonstrate. And then this is optional, but you might want some pins to help you when you're sewing things together. So yeah, that's everything that you'll be needing for this tutorial. So we're going to start by crocheting the head first. So if you grab your pink yarn, we're going to do 6 single crochets in a magic circle to start with. So that's the end of round 1, then for round 2 we're just going to increase all the way around. So that's the end of round 2, and you should now have 12 single crochets all the way around. So we're going to do a couple more rounds in pink before we change colour to blue, and I'm just going to talk you through those because it's just a mixture of single crochets and increases. So for round 3 you're going to do 3 single crochets, 3 increases, 3 single crochets, 3 increases, and that'll bring you to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. And then for round 4 you're going to do 4 single crochets, 4 increases, 5 single crochets, 4 increases, and then a single crochet, and that'll get you up to 26 single crochets at the end of round 4. So I'll meet you at the end of round 4 as we're then going to change to blue. So I'm at the end of round 4 and now I want to change to blue. You can just use a standard normal colour change, so to do that on the last single crochet of round 4, instead of pulling through in pink like this, you would pull through in blue instead, and that would achieve the colour change. But I'm just going to do the fake single crochet method this time because I think it looks a little bit neater when the colour change is going to be visible. So I've cut my yarn already, so just leave a bit of a tail, you don't need as much as this, and then you're just going to pull your yarn tail through like this, flip your work, skip the next single crochet and go into this one, pull that yarn tail through like this, and then go back to the final single crochet of round 4 into the front loop only from our current perspective, so this loop, the one closest to us, and then pull the yarn tail through like this. And then as you can see, we've now created a fake single crochet here on top of the old existing one, and now if you looked at that it would be harder to tell where the round ended. So yeah, it just makes it a little bit neater in my opinion. So once you've done that, you're then just going to reattach the blue yarn into that fake single crochet stitch. And and now we can start round number 5. So for round 5 you're just simply going to single crochet all the way around. So I'll just show you the first few single crochets. So you get the idea, you'll just single crochet all the way around. Round 6 you're going to do the same thing, just single crochet all the way around in blue. Round 7, 6 single crochet, 4 increases, 9 single crochets, 4 increases and 3 single crochets, and that'll get you up to 34 single crochets at the end of round 7. And then for rounds 8 to 9, again you're just going to single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 9 as we're then going to do something slightly different. So I got to the end of round 9 and this is what it's looking like. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to do an extra 8 single crochets after the end of round 9. So I'm just going to remove my stitch marker. I'm just going to do 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually start working in rows rather than rounds. So for the first row you're just going to do chain 1, turn, and then you're going to work 28 single crochets. So that's the end of row 1, and if you can see what we're trying to do here is basically, so this is going to be the way round that the head is facing, and we're going to keep doing some rows so that we kind of keep going round like this and we build up a hole at the bottom here, and that's where we're going to create the kind of neck piece that sticks out a bit. If you've seen a picture of Mang, then you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, that's how we create that effect. So yeah, so that's the end of row 1. So all you're going to do is for rows 2 to 8, you're going to do the exact same thing. So chain 1, turn and do 28 single crochets, which should take you to the end of the row, and then chain 1, turn, and keep doing the same thing until you get to the end of row 8. So I'll meet you at the end of row 8. So I've got to the end of row 8 and now we're going to start working in rounds again. But firstly we just need to do some chains because we need to join back up basically to this side here. So we're going to start working in that first single crochet of row 8 when we start our next round. So just before that we just need to do 6 chains. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so now we are ready to start round 10 because obviously the last round we just did was round 9, so I'm going to call this one round 10. So to start round 10 we're going to do a decrease. I'm just going to place my stitch marker to remind me where the round started. Okay, then we're going to do 9 single crochets. Then we're going to do 4 decreases. Then we're going to do 9 single crochets again. And then we're finally going to do 3 decreases along the chain. Okay, so that is the end of round 10. So now you should have 26 single crochets all the way around. So I'm just going to talk you through the next few rounds until we basically just need to close up the little hole that will be at the back of the head, and then we can reattach some yarn here and start working the neck. So for round 11 you're going to do decrease 5 single crochets, 4 decreases, 5 single crochets, 3 decreases, and that will get you down to 18 single crochets at the end of the round. Round 12 you're going to do single crochet decrease and repeat that pattern 5 more times to get you down to 12 single crochets at the end of the round. And then for round 13 you're just going to decrease all the way around, and that'll get you down to 6 single crochets at the end of the round. So I'll meet you at the end of round 13. So I've reached the end of round 13 and now I'm just going to close up this 6 single crochet hole. So if you just cut your yarn leaving a bit of a tail, and then if you grab your yarn needle, then we're just going to close up this hole. So I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through the front loops of each of the 6 single crochets. So if you just pull tight, you can see there the hole has closed up. So you can just, to be honest, I'm going to weave the yarn tail through once I've stuffed the head. So I'm just going to leave that tail hanging for now. And yeah, so hopefully you can kind of get the idea of how the head is going to look. So now we obviously need to work the neck in this hole that we've got left here. So if you grab your blue yarn again, we'll reattach it and we'll start working the neck. So it doesn't really matter which stitch you reattach your blue yarn into. I'm personally going to pick this one here, so I'm going to start off by reattaching it into one of the actual single crochets that we skipped from a previous round. I guess this would be from round 9. So I'm just reattaching. And then for round 1 of the neck, we're just going to work 28 single crochets evenly around. So that'll be 6 single crochets here, 8 along this side, 6 along this side, and then 8 along the other side again. So I'm just going to start doing that now. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to start working along this edge here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm going to start working along this edge here. So I'm just counting where my 6 are going to go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm going to do my final 8 along this edge here. Again, I'm just going to count where the 8 are going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. 1, 7, 8. So that is the end of round 1 of the neck, and you should have 28 single crochets all the way around. So for round 2 we're going to be working in the front loop zone only, and this is because we want to leave the back loops free for when we need to sew the body to the neck later on. So I'm just going to be starting off by doing 5 single crochets in the front loops only. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we're going to do a decrease in the front loops only as well. So that's 5 single crochet, decrease in the front loops only, and we're going to do that pattern 3 more times. That should get us to the end of the round, and we'll be down to 24 single crochets at the end of round 2. And I'm just going to talk you through the other 2 rounds after that, because they're not very complicated. So for round 3 you're going to do 2 single crochet increase and repeat that pattern 7 more times to get you up to 32 single crochets at the end of round 3. And then for round 4 you're going to do 3 single crochet increase and repeat that pattern 7 more times to get you up to 40 single crochets at the end of round 4. So just to be completely clear, round 2 that we're doing now is worked in the front loops only, and round 3 and 4 are worked in both loops as normal. So I'll meet you at the end of round 4. So I've come to the end of round 4 of the neck, and I hope you can kind of see how the head has taken shape now. So this is what it's going to look like. So yeah. So now I'm just going to cut my yarn, and I'm going to finish off with a fake single crochet again, just for additional neatness. You don't need to do this, you could just slip stitch into the next stitch to finish, especially because this is going to be showing at the back anyway, but I like using the fake single crochet method, so that's what I'm going to do again. So I'm just going to do exactly what I showed you before. Oops. And then I will then just knot this remaining yarn tail to secure it on the inside. Like that. I might do a few more knots off camera, but that's basically the idea. And then all you're going to want to do now is just add a bit of stuffing to the head, so I'll just do that quickly now. So yeah, I might add a bit more later, but that's pretty much probably enough, to be honest. And then I'm still going to just leave this yarn tail until the end. I'll weave it in at the end, to be honest. So that's that. So now we can add the face details using felt, and we can add the nose details using some embroidery thread. So let's move on to that now. So I cut 2 eyes out of the white and black felt. They're just very basic circles, and I'm just going to glue those down to the face now, so 1 on either side. Okay, so that's the eyes, and then we just need to add the little nose details with some black embroidery thread. So I'm just gonna weave my black embroidery thread through to the nose. I'm just gonna move it up 1 stitch actually. And then I'm gonna add a line, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so that is the nose detail added as well now. So yeah, that's that. So I think the next thing that we'll move on to is making the legs and the body. So grab your light purple yarn and let's start that now. For the legs, we're going to start off by doing 6 single crochets in a magic circle. So that's the end of round 1. Then for round 2 you're going to increase all the way around, so that will get you to 12 single crochets at the end of round 2. And then for rounds 3 to 6 you're just going to single crochet all the way around, so I'll meet you at the end of round 6. So I've reached the end of round 6, and for the first leg I'm just going to cut the yarn. Don't really worry about leaving a long tail, just a little bit would be fine. And then we're just going to repeat rounds 1 to 6 again, but this time keep your yarn on the hook because we're going to start joining the 2 legs together to make the body. So I'll meet you when you've got another leg. So I got to the end of round 6 on the second leg, and now we're going to join the 2 legs together. So to start with, we're going to do 6 single crochets in the current leg. So 1, and I'm just going to mark the first single crochet so I know where the round starts. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to work 12 single crochets around this leg. Doesn't really matter where you start attaching your first single crochet into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then we're just going to work 6 single crochets back into the other leg, and that should fully join the 2 legs together. And if you're not sure where to start working, then you can just count back 6 from here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the first single crochet that we need to work into. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Cool, so I'm considering this to be round 7. So at the end of round 7 you should now have 24 single crochets all the way around, and your 2 legs should be joined together like this. So now for rounds 8 to 17 you're simply going to single crochet all the way around, so I'll meet you at the end of round 17. So I reached the end of round 17 and I've added some stuffing, as you can see. And now I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving quite a long tail for sewing. So now we're ready to sew the body to those 3 back loops from round 1 of the neck. So let's do that now. So as you can see, I've got the head here and I've kind of folded the neck outwards like this. And I've got the body, and I'm just going to be whip stitching into these available back loops from round 1 of the neck. Now there are 28 of these loops and there's only 24 single crochets all the way around for the body, so for every 6th body single crochet I'm going to skip one of these available back loops and go into the next one. So hopefully that makes sense, so that you'll be whip stitching this around evenly. So I'm going to start off. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the 6th one I'm going to skip this back loop and go into the next one. 6. So I'm just going to keep going all the way around until I have fully sewn that down. So as you can see, the body is now fully whip stitched around, so you can sort of fold the neck piece back out like this for now, and then you can just weave your yarn tail through to any stitch in the body, and then we can just snip that. So that is that. So now I guess we can move on to making the arms. I already made one of the arms, as you can see here, so let's start the second one together. So to start off with, we're just going to do 5 single crochets in a magic circle. So that's the end of round 1. Then for round 2, you're just going to increase all the way around. That's going to get you to 10 single crochets at the end of the round. And then for rounds 3 to 8, you're just going to single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 8, as we'll then close off the arm and stuff it as well. I got to the end of round 8 and I've just added a very light amount of stuffing to the arm. And now we're just going to do 5 slip stitches across to close the arm. So let's just do that now. Okay, so that's our 5 slip stitches. So now you just need to cut your yarn, leaving a tail long enough for sewing. So once you've got your 2 arms, then we'll sew them to the body together. As you can see, I've already sewn down one of the arms, so I'm just going to do the other one now. So I'm going to lift up this little like neck piece when I'm sewing it down, so that I can get it right up to this kind of join here. So yeah, I'm just going to make sure that I'm roughly lining it up with the other side, and then I'm going to start just whip stitching as usual. Okay, so that's most of it sewn down, but then I'm just going to sew down a couple of stitches either side as well, just to keep it in place and stop the arm from moving around too much. Okay, so now when you move that down, you can't really see the part where we sewed everything down, so you can just again weave your yarn tail through to any random stitch, and then you can just cut that to get rid of it. So yeah, so now we're finished with the body and the arms and everything like that. We just need to add the kind of hair piece here and do the ears as well. So let's move on to that and then we'll be finished. The hair is worked in two parts. So for the first part, we're going to grab our darker purple yarn and we're going to start off by chaining 21. Then we're going to do 20 single crochets across the chain, starting from that second chain from hook. Now you can work into these front loops or you can work into the back loops, it doesn't matter. I am going to work into the back loops just because sometimes I like how that looks a little bit better. So I'm going to start single crocheting across. So I'll meet you when you get to the end of row 1. So I got to the end of row 1 and I've done my 20 single crochets across. So for row 2 we're going to start by chaining 2 and then we're going to do 3 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to do a slip stitch and we're going to repeat that pattern 4 more times and that will get us to the end of row 2 and I'll meet you at that point. So I've just got to the end of row 2 and I've done my final slip stitch here. So I've just cut my yarn, leaving quite a long tail for sewing, and I'm just going to pull this tail completely through now. So this is the first part. With this tail at the other end, you can obviously just weave that in and snip it if you want to, or you can do that after you've already sewn this piece down. But the next thing we're going to do before we start sewing this is we are actually going to make the second part for the hair piece. So if you grab your dark purple yarn again, let's get started with that. So for the second piece we're going to be working in rounds, so we're going to start off by doing 4 single crochets in a magic circle. So that's the end of round 1, and then for round 2 you're going to do single crochet increase, single crochet increase. That'll get you up to 6 single crochets at the end of round 2. Round 3 you're going to single crochet all the way around, and round 4 you're going to decrease all the way around, and that will get you down to 3 single crochets at the end of round 4. And when you get to the end of round 4, you're just going to do an additional 8 chains. So I'll meet you when you've done that. So this is what my piece is looking like now. I got to the end of round 4 and then I just did an extra 8 chains at the end, as I mentioned. So now we're going to join these 2 pieces together, so part 1 and part 2 of the hair piece. So the first thing that you want to do is you just want to check with this hair piece here which part you want to be showing at the front and which part you want to be showing at the back. So just have a little look at both sides and decide which side you like the best. I personally like this one the best, where my little yarn tail end is on the left hand side. So this is the way around that I'm going to sew it to the head, like this. You can choose whichever way you want, it doesn't really make a big difference. And the final thing that we're going to do is we're just going to slip stitch this part here into the bottom of the first part that we made. So I might just go into this. I'm just going to slip stitch, sorry, just like that. And then once you've done that, you can just pull the yarn through from the second part. You can cut your yarn obviously at that point and pull the yarn through like this. And then you should have these 2 pieces slip stitched together. However, you might just want to grab this yarn tail, weave it through your yarn needle and just neaten it up a little bit before you weave this tail in. So I'm just gonna attach a couple more stitches around this part to make it a bit more secure. I think that's probably enough. So yeah, I will eventually weave this yarn tail in, but I think I'm going to leave it for now, and I'm going to sew this part to the head first. So let's do that together now. So as you can see, I've pinned down the top of the hairpiece just so that I know roughly where I want it to end, and then I'm going to start sewing it down like this. The second part of the hairpiece doesn't actually get sewn down, that just sort of hangs there loosely. So I've just got my yarn needle, and I've got this tail here from the first piece. You could use any tail to sew it down, it doesn't really matter what you use. I'm just going to move that to a slightly better position for sewing. And then I'm just going to start sewing that down. I think I'm going to be whip stitching like normal, and I'm going to be trying to make it as symmetrical as possible, so that like the this part of the hair piece kind of goes through that final round of the head like this. So yeah, I'm just going to try my best with that. Okay, so I think you get the idea. I'm just going to be sewing that down all the way, and then I'm also going to be sewing around the back too, so that it's very secure. So I'll meet you when I've got back to the bottom part here. As you can see, I've finished sewing that hair piece all the way round now, so I did both the back and the front as I mentioned. So now my tail is just sat down here, so I'm just going to push that through to a random stitch at the back, and then I'll just snip that. And I also did the same thing with those other couple of purple tails that I had, so everything is nice and neat now, as you can see. So the final step that we need to do is just to make the ears and then sew those down. So let's do that quickly now, that shouldn't take too long. So this is what one of the ears looks like, and to start off with you're simply going to do 4 single crochets in a magic circle for round 1. Then for round 2 you're going to increase all the way around to get you up to 8 single crochets at the end of the round, and then for rounds 3 to 5 you're just going to single crochet all the way around. So I'll meet you at the end of round 5, as we'll then slip stitch it closed together, and then we can sew these to the head. So I've just got to the end of round 5, and now I'm going to do 4 slip stitches across to close. And then I'm just going to cut my yarn, leaving a tail long enough for sewing. So once you've got your 2 ears, as we have here, then we just need to sew them to the head, and then we're finished. I've sewn down the front ear, so I'm just going to do the one at the back now. I'm not using any special technique for this. Again, I'm just going to be whip stitching like I normally do. So I've got my other ear here. I'm going to try and place it roughly in line with where I placed the ear on the other side, and I'm just going to start sewing this down. So yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when I've finished sewing all the way around, and then we'll be finished. As you can see, I've finished sewing that ear down, so I'm just going to weave my yarn tail through to a random stitch and then cut that, and then I'll show you what the finished product looks like. So this is the finished Mang. I think he looks really cute. It was kind of hard to get that right shape for the head and everything, but I think it turned out all right in the end. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.